You're listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar, the top-rated DFS tool set and #1 companion for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Go LineStar Premium now at LineStarApp.com. Now, here are your hosts, fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to On Deck right here on the LineStar app. It's me, it's Chris Meaney, and it's you, and it is Thursday. I know what you're thinking. What the hell? Joe and Chris on a Thursday, and you're welcome. You're welcome, because there's a lot more games to worry about today than there were on Monday, so we decided to move our schedules around just for you. It wasn't easy for us, no, especially for Chris Meaney. It wasn't easy. But you know what? We are the People's Podcast, and we are here to continue to win people money and give people a laugh or two on the way. So, Chris, I know looking back on yesterday, if there's one thing that I found more entertaining than anything else, it had to be a complete game shutout from Jason Vargas.
From Jason Vargas. Yes, he got it done.
The 8th of his career. 8.
Unbelievable, really, to think about when you've watched him over the past couple of years. But you and I were talking off air about, some flashes with him, a few years ago. I remember him being on my fantasy team and carrying me, at that point in time. But yeah, it was a great performance from him. And we talked about just a decent run from him overall. It had just been the walk. So maybe even more impressive to me is the fact that he only walked one guy. Yeah, it was against the Giants, but even still, a complete game shutout. Very impressive in this day and age. Something you don't see very often, Joe. It's at the second, third maybe of the season.
Yeah, it's definitely not something you're very used to seeing. But as we always like to do on the show here, look, and we talked about him yesterday. You were kind of like, look, if you got a lot of stones, you could probably go there. And I think this is more of an indictment on the San Francisco Giants lineup than anything.
Yeah.
So I think my biggest takeaway from this is not, yay, Jason Vargas is a discount pitcher I can use. I don't think that's my takeaway. I think my takeaway is the Giants are that bad. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, that's smart. It's a good takeaway.
Yeah, and look, just to fly through some big news, too, because a lot happened yesterday. Cano came off the DL or IL or whatever the hell it's called now, and then went back on it, or is going to, because he came up lame in that game. So much for that. Craig Kimbrell signed with the Cubs. Now, this doesn't affect our DFS world, but certainly affects the Cubs. And it does in a certain way, because it does affect some of those pitchers' ability to get to a win, because I think they've won, 11 of 23 saves this year. So that's a problem. So that's good. Potentially for some more wins from some of those guys like Hamels and Lester and Darvish and Hendricks, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think it was a good move for the Cubs. And you're right, the bullpen it's been brutal all year. So, I mean, that's a positive, obviously, for that team. And if you stash them in season-long leagues, I mean, I don't have any shares, but good on you, because now you're going to get yourself, I guess I would assume, thinking about it right now, and some of the closers who have just been mediocre, you're going to get yourself, potential top 5 closer for sure with Kimbrell.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it was a pretty decent deal, too. 3 for $43. I mean, that seemed pretty reasonable. I think if he was that reasonable, he wouldn't have had to wait this long to sign somewhere. But whatever. He had a couple months off. It's good for him, good for the Cubs, good for everybody. Also, Carlos Carrasco, probably, my guess, is done for the year. It came out yesterday, said he has a blood condition. I'm not sure what that means. That can mean a myriad of things. They were very oddly vague yet specific about what, and a lot of questions there, not a lot of answers from a fantasy perspective. I would not expect him in 2019 to be seen again.
No, obviously wishes for him, thoughts 100%. And prayers. Yep, 100% there. And you're right, pretty vague. Not sure you can really go into it. I don't want to get into any rumors that are swirling around, but you're right. Probably. Well,
you know what? Here's the only problem with that. If they had just said he's dealing with a personal health issue, I think everybody would have said, okay, a little bit of respect. But it was weird to do it the way that they did it, and they were specific without being specific. And I think that left a lot more questions than I think there would have been had they just come out more vague. Like, more vague, you're going to go, oh, okay, well, let's respect them. And then you say something like that, and you go, well, what is it? And I don't know. Indians are just the window's closed. Like we were talking about before the show. The window's closed. Kluber's out. you're going to start seeing Bauer sold.
Yeah, one of those two guys going to get traded. They're going to turn the corner. Yeah, they completely – I mean, it's crazy to think about how close this team was to a World Series. I believe they were up 3-1 on the Cubs a couple of years ago, and then you're right, all those pitchers, Bauer's probably gone, Kluber, one of the two gone. I mean, they decided not to, move on from Edwin, Brantley. So, yeah, this team is heading in the wrong direction. But, yeah, some reports that Carrasco has felt, a little off for weeks now. So, I mean, that could explain some of his – on-field issues, but yeah, obviously thoughts and prayers with him. We hope he returns.
All right. Let's take a look through yesterday's things, the things we got right, the things we got wrong, and the things we want to learn. I think I learned something yesterday, which is finally I feel more confident in Joe Musgrove. We've been back and forth. It was a big game for him against Atlanta. He was at home, 8 innings for him, struck out 6 guys. Acuna, obviously a little testy from the day before his little events about his jewelry and whatnot. All that crap. Oh, by the way, the day slate was trash, so I hope you stayed away from it.
Yeah, I mean, we said that, right? I mean, Anibal Sanchez was okay, but what are you going to do? I mean, he didn't get really much from him. So,
so we were good to see again. So that's something to learn in terms of things we got wrong. Paxton, unfortunately, I mean, I don't know, 4 2/3. This should have been a slam dunk for him instead. He gives up 4 runs, 3 earned. It's the walks,
the walks killed him.
Well, the walks did kill him, but still, this is frustrating. Very frustrating, I think, if you're a Paxton owner and season long especially. But in DFS, that should have been a lock game. That should have been second game back. He looks so strong. I don't know. It makes me concerned going forward now for the third one back. Now, I had one good start that was too short, one bad start that was too short, or maybe not short enough. And now I'm just, now I'm scratching my head. I'm out on Paxton until he gets a couple of good starts in a row for me too.
Yeah, his next one will come against the Mets. They made a big deal about it last night. Big Maple is what they call him in here in Canada as a Canadian. James Paxton just cannot pitch in Toronto. Don't know what it is. I mean, he had the one start. His last start actually in Toronto, he didn't even make it out of the first inning. I think he walked like 4 or 5 guys, gave up a couple bombs. So I don't know what it is. Some inconsistency there for sure. But
sometimes it's silly things like the mound.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Different ballparks have different nuances and things like that. And pitchers are so goofy. They have all kinds of weird little, things about the feel of the mound or this or that. Or I mean, there's a lot of things at play there. Charlie Morton continues to be absolutely dominant and worth every penny. 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, scoreless innings, no less. Just tremendous. We mentioned the Vargas shutout. I can't speak to it anymore because it's going to make my brain hurt talking about it. But the good news was we were very much on Nelson Cruz yesterday. He went yard. We were very much on that lineup there for the Minnesota Twins. They scored 7 runs, but the Indians scored 9. So at least the offense is waking up, especially Lindor. Lindor's been absolutely brilliant for over the last stretch or so. So that's something to clearly take notice of. And we talked about it yesterday. Still a bit of a discount for him over on FanDuel.
Yeah. And how about the Jose Ramirez 2 for 4, 3 RBI? Gotta love seeing that as well. He picked up a stolen base that looked like the Jose Ramirez, of last year in the first half for sure. So keep an eye on him. Cleveland's starting to score some runs offensively. Yeah, Morton was interesting. I was correct in thinking that he would be low owned because of guys like Paxton and Chris Sale, and that was the case. And Chris Sale was great. So if you had any of those two, one of the two, again, if you play on FanDuel, you can only do one of the two, but you could make it work over there with all the value. It's a little bit tougher to get 2 studs like that into DraftKings, but if you had any of those shares, you were solid. And how about Seattle? I mean, their bats really woke up as well. And then a big takeaway, and we'll get into a little bit later on. To me, we're starting to see some bats in LA wake up. Ohtani is somebody that you've talked about over the past couple shows. He's got 3 homers in his last 5 games. So, a couple guys starting to heat up there. Justin Upton will return. That lineup's going to get better.
Absolutely. Also, Jimmy Nelson's first start back was not good. Not surprising. We were all over the Marlins end of
when it gets the hottest team in the league.
I know. How about them Marlins, baby? Woo!
I mentioned it yesterday, but just to bring it up again, I was really looking into just some of their numbers. Obviously, schedule has a little bit to do with it. They've had some weaker opponents lately, but they are the Marlins after all. Their first 36 games of the season, they had 10 wins, 101 runs. Over their last 17 games before yesterday's outburst, they piled up 12 wins in 17 games and scored 100 runs of their own and had 5 players, including Jose Urena, in the top 50 over that span in terms of fantasy. And just all of them widely available. So Miami is just, they're making things happen. They really are. Another 8 runs yesterday. Anderson was in on the action. Castro is basically cheap no matter where you play. You can't ignore the Miami Marlins right now. You just can't.
No, you can't. And going back to that Seattle game too, talking about how about Mike Leake too? How about a complete game for Mike Leake? What a weird night. Jason Vargas, and this is sometimes you got to throw your hands up and go, well, that's baseball. Because on the same night, Jason Vargas and Mike Leake went 9. So there you have it. Like, that's
unbelievable.
Just the greatest thing in the world. And Peacock got look, unfortunately, I know I'm sure a lot of people were in on him. Not a good start for him. Not a good start for Marquez too. I will take all the heat on that. It should have been a good one. He gave up 8 earned runs. The Cubs got to him. Darvish was not better necessarily. So that was just a complete crapshoot. And it was one of those bizarre nights. That's for sure. We got some good things from the offense. We were certainly on Charlie Morton, but the Marquez pick did not work out. And it was a tougher slate too. But look, if you stayed chalky and you stayed cash, as we always recommend on the show, then you had Chris Sale, who was the 3rd complete game of the night too, right? He went 9 as well. Yeah. So 12 strikeouts for him. Not bad.
Games.
And I just acquired him in labor just 2 days ago in the trade for Mike. So there you go. Immediate impact because I feel like he came into the clubhouse here with me and he went 9 innings. By the way, how many wins for that year for Sale? 2. That's right.
Chris Sale, 2 wins.
Chris Sale has 2 wins.
Yeah,
2 wins.
He's 2-7. It's been an odd year for sure. Sticking with the Red Sox.
How wins are a thing. Why that?
Yeah, they are silly. I agree. Rafael Devers is somebody we've talked about a lot. On DK, I think he was like $300 or $400 more than JD Martinez, which just goes to show, how sharp they are and they're understanding the hot run that Devers has been on this season, hitting 316. But again, on FanDuel, guys, he's been just super cheap. Him and Benintendi, there were some values for us yesterday. Benintendi 3 for 4, starting to slowly come around. I've noticed Andrew Benintendi, not a big home run guy, but a really slow start of the season. He lost the spot, the leadoff the spot for Boston, but he's got hits in 4 straight, scoring some runs, swiping some bags. So hopefully he turns it around.
All right, so there's a bunch of day games today because it's Thursday. So it's a new day. Yes, it is. And let's hit the day games first. Let's start off with San Francisco and the Mets. You got Zach Wheeler and Sean Anderson facing off here. Wheeler's at 10.5 on DK. Then you got Fultonevich, who's not been good at 8.5 versus Chris Archer. Again, those are the DK salaries for those guys over on the FanDuel side. Just to get an idea of those 3 pitchers, you got Wheeler 10.2 on FanDuel, expensive, 7.3 for Fultonevich and 6.4 for Archer. I don't know. For me, so far, I continue to move down. We got Daniel Norris, and we got, of course, Ryan Stanek, the opener. You got Danny Duffy in this mix, but there might be some weather in there. Desclafani, Dakota Hudson because of yesterday's rainout, so that one's going to happen again. So we didn't get Joey Votto yesterday. Carry over the Joey Votto this afternoon, folks.
Yes.
Carry it over. It's still the same price. Go for it. Then you've got guys we can start talking about. Caleb Smith against the Brewers, 9.5 over on the FanDuel side. On the DraftKings side, Caleb Smith is actually 9.4, so not much of a change there. You got Jose Quintana on DraftKings at 7.5. And then now the Verlander-Malone game, that one's in the slate, correct? I'm not crazy.
It's not on DraftKings. And
it's not, right?
No, it's not. It's not on that slate. So, yeah, if you're on FanDuel and you're looking early, you're just going to get the 5 games. You're just going to get up to Cincy, St. Louis. So it's not going to be there.
FanDuel's got pricing for Verlander.
Yeah.
DraftKings does not, just to be clear, everybody, in case.
Right. FanDuel, you can do some like all-day stuff over there where you can get, every game in.
That sounds hot.
Yeah.
I want to do all-day stuff. Oh, baby, I want to take you home and do all-day stuff.
All the stuff. All the stuff.
So, look, quick glance of this. I mean, you got Jose Quintana against Peter Lambert. I'm going to take my shot with Quintana in this one. I think Caleb Smith that pairing to me, I think is cost-effective. If you're going through on the DraftKings side, I think Quintana at the 7.5 and the Caleb Smith at 9.4 is very cost effective. That's my favorite pairing in terms of return on investment. And I know Smith has been a little bumpy since that brilliant opening to the season, but I think the Brewers are scuffling a little bit now. And I know that ballpark is scary, but to me, that's where I'm going pitching in the afternoon if Verlander is not, available to me.
Yeah, Caleb Smith has a little bit, but he's still obviously, looking at this slate, I think he has the highest ceiling in terms of strikeouts, right? I mean, he's the guy who can rack up double-digit strikeouts even against this Brewers team. I mean, he's still been 2 or fewer runs in 9 of his 11 starts this season. I mean, he has given up a home run in 8 straight starts now. I mean, that isn't concerned. The fly ball rate is definitely. I mean, when you have a 28% ground ball rate, the other way is you're giving up a lot of fly balls, and that eventually that's going to catch up to you. But even if he just gives up 1 or 2 solo shots, Joe racks up 7 to 9 strikeouts, which he's done. I mean, he's hit that 8 strikeout mark in over half of his starts. So if he can get to that mark with just limited damage, he's going to return value for you for sure. And I think people will shy away because of the fact it is in Milwaukee. But you're right, this Brewers lineup has been pretty quiet lately. Maybe they need to get Hira back in it.
Oh, there's opportunities if you want to get fancy with like Danny Duffy, the lefty, against Ryan Webb. It's in Kansas City, but again, I don't know. I think you stay chalky, you stay safe, you stay with Caleb Smith, you stay with Quintana, and you try to make the best lineup. Now the question is, I like the Reds. I'm going to go right back because we talked about it at length yesterday. I like the Reds pricing. I like the Reds opportunity here against Dakota Hudson. I like Dietrich, even though he's expensive. I'll go with the Votto, Suarez, any of those grouping. I mean, you get a little discount, especially on the FanDuel side on those guys, especially. So if you're just going to go with the one pitcher, let's say you just go with Caleb Smith, I think the Reds are a nice pairing there. Where would you go? How would you kind of delineate in terms of offense?
Well, I definitely like the Reds. I agree with you there. I think Votto is a must-play today, and we mentioned it yesterday, but just to bring it back up again, left-handed bat slashing 350, 436, 617 with a 435 WOBA against Hudson, and 8 of the 9 homers he's allowed have come to left-handed bats. So I think Dietrich in there he's super expensive on DraftKings. He's 5-1. I don't think he was that expensive yesterday. Nonetheless, he's 3-1 on FanDuel. Votto's 2-9 on FanDuel. Like those are the guys that you can definitely get in. Tampa is pretty cheap on FanDuel as well. I mean, Yandy Diaz has been better against lefties than righties. Austin Meadows is just too expensive on DK. I feel like I got to fade him, but there's still a little bit of value on FanDuel again with Tampa and with the Red Sox if you do want to go that way against Duffy. I know you mentioned him, but Benintendi, Devers, Chavis, these guys are all under 4K. I mean, anytime you can get a piece of the Boston stack, 5.3 team implied total is the highest on the board. I was going to ask you about Zach Wheeler because of what you saw with Vargas and San Fran off the top. Like, do you go that high with him? I mean, he's the highest priced pitcher on the board on both sites.
I think, that's what scares me about it is always like you never know if the Met offense is going to show up. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I would say this. I think I'm more apt to do it on the single pitcher. Like if you're on FanDuel, I think you can do it because you're going to get some discounts on the Mets. Guys like Todd Frazier, Wilson Ramos, Kenobi out of the lineup. So you might get Echeverria, who, it's not like a great DFS play, but we're talking about a scaled down slate, so a little different. Ahmed Rosario has been a little, hot lately. So I think because of the condensed slate on the single pitcher site, I like Wheeler. When I have to have 2 pitchers, I think once I burn that extra 1,000 more on Wheeler, I think it makes it really tough to get the bats I want. So that's how I break it up. I say yes to Wheeler on FanDuel and cash. I say I'd rather go with Caleb Smith and Quintana, save a little bit more money for the offense because I think you're going to need it this afternoon with some of these games potentially out there.
Yeah, that adds up. I'm just looking now, and if you go Wheeler on the early in FanDuel, I mean he's the most expensive pitcher by $3K. So if you go him, you're going to have to attack Cincy. I mean you only have an average of $3,100 to fill out the rest of your lineup. So you're going to have to attack probably Mets, like you said, some value bats in there, like whether it's Frazier or Rosario, perhaps, even Conforto at 3.6.
Right. Everybody knows I love McNeil too. I mean, the Mets lineup has a lot of opportunity there. Sean Anderson is not
Sean Anderson's not great. No, you're right.
No. So, I mean, I think the Mets are certainly in play. I think you can go Wheeler with the Mets stack.
Yeah.
And just go
Cincy.
balls to the wall there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cincy, I think that's the way to go. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be runs in the Atlanta-Pittsburgh game, and I think that's part of, for me, why on DK especially, I want to have a little bit – I want to be able to get into that game too. And you can't get into that game with the Ronald Acuñas of the world on DraftKings unless you are able to find a little discount on pitching. And I think Wheeler's going to kind of price you out of that. So that's my approach. So let's go into the evening, and let's start with Jay Happ, who's been a gas can lately. Oh, my God, against Edwin Jackson. Oh, my goodness.
Who's also been a gas can.
Oh, my gosh. So the implied total here is, let's see, 9.5?
It's 9.5. It actually went down from 10, which is a little puzzling. Yeah.
All the over.
Oh man, you saw J Hap revenge? No chance. No chance. I'm not feeling
I
J
don't
Hap.
care. I'm not buying a J Hap revenge narrative with the way he's pitched this year. Okay, I mean, I'm just not buying it at all. The guy's been terrible. He has, and I'm shocked because I bought in hook, line, and sinker this year in a lot of season long. Was like, hey, this guy strikes out a ton of guys. He's going to pitch on the Yankees. They have an incredible bullpen. He's only got to go 5-6 innings to get W's. Unfortunately, you got to stop giving up 5 runs in those 5 innings. That's the problem.
Well, it's been the home runs. I mean, this guy's allowed 15 home runs in 12 starts. 15 home runs. I mean, he's only striking out 7 per 9. That's nowhere near last year's 9 per.
I'm thinking there's something wrong. I'm thinking he's not 100%, and that's the only explanation I have. And I'm gonna keep telling myself. But what does that mean? That means we got to find some shares of this. Obviously, Aaron Hicks. We're going back to the well again until it changes. He's 4-1 on DK. On FanDuel, guess what? He's still cheaper. You know why? Because it's FanDuel. Yay! It's nice and loose. That's what we always want there. So when you have that Yankee slate here, you got Aaron Hicks at 3.5, Sanchez at 4.5, Gleyber Torres at 3.9. I don't want to screw around with the Kendrys Morales and Clint Frazier's of the world. I'm not going to do that.
No, those are just dart throws. Aaron Hicks got the day off yesterday, unfortunately. I was all over him. I thought he'd have a good day against Thornton. Whatever. He's going to get back in the lineup today. On the Jays side, I mean, Vlad Guerrero Jr. was an impressive 3-run shot off Zach Britton yesterday. He's only 3K. I mean,
I love Vlad today.
Yeah, I think you take advantage of the fact that he was able to, go deep off a extreme ground ball pitcher in Britain who doesn't give up a whole lot through the air, and now he's going up against Happ, who all he's done is given up bombs. So don't worry about the chalk. I think it's a strong play. DK 3.83 on FanDuel. Gerchik as well had a couple bombs yesterday. The Jays are saying Teoscar Hernandez is going to be their everyday center fielder. I don't know if they know what the heck they're doing over there, but nonetheless, he has a little bit of pop in his bat as well. So I think there's an opportunity maybe to get some Jays here. And if you want to spend up on some pitching, you can do it by getting some Jays.
Vlad Guerrero at 3K is criminal. It's criminal on FanDuel. You have to have all kinds of shares of him. And Teoscar had just gotten recently sent down, correct?
He did, and now he's back, and he's back.
You know what?
Apparently going to be the full-time center fielder there.
He's back, and he's got an opportunity tonight at 2K that you can – I mean, that is something where I feel like when we talked about potential free squares, that's a potential free square where I know you go, oh, but he hasn't been good, but the guy has power. We all know he's got power. He had 22 bombs last year. The power's there. And J Happ, this guy's been giving up home runs. So why not take a shot on it? I'm with you. I'm in with Toronto today. I'm in on both ends of this game. This one's going over. The last time we were this excited about an over, there were 21 runs scored. So put that out there for everybody. That was earlier in the week with Texas. So
for sure. Listen, Hernandez his first game yesterday. He was 2 for 5. He picked up 2 RBIs, stole a base, and picked up a run. So you mentioned the power. He also has a little bit of speed to him. So yeah, I think you just take that discount.
All right, so this next one is real dicey. We got Barrios at 9.7 on on DK. Trevor Bauer, 9.4 on the FanDuel side. Barrios at 9.3. Bauer at 10.4. So much more expensive there. $1,000 more on FanDuel for Bauer.
Giving a lot of respect to Bauer.
Getting a lot of respect. I actually like Bauer in this game. I know it sounds a little, goofy considering how, everything seems to be just collapsing around them. But the offense has been getting better. And this is not a knock on Barrios, but usually the 50-50 games, I like to run away. I don't know. Call it a hunch, call it women's intuition, call it whatever you want. I feel like Trevor Bauer is in play tonight because I think that there's this cloud over Cleveland a little bit. And I feel like that keeps the ownership down, especially on a night where there's other options. And I think Barrios is going to be one of those other options. But I'm going to go stick with Bauer. What do you think? Are you running away or are you taking a side?
I love Bauer. I'm a fan. I have no problem going to Bauer in this contest as well. I agree with you, actually. I think that, people will shy away from Trevor Bauer because of the fact it's the Twins and what you just said, everything going on with Cleveland. So an opportunity to get one of the better strikeout pitchers in the game, with a low ownership. So absolutely. He had a start against Cleveland or against Minnesota earlier in the year where he struck out 9 through 7, only allowed 1 hit. So that's the kind of upside that he has. And the walks, what I've noticed from him, and that's the biggest thing you and I have talked about it, is his command has just been a little shoddy so far this season. He's walked 37 guys in 83 innings, but over his last 2 starts, only 2 walks. That is, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a positive. In the right
direction. That's a big positive because the walks kind of in May were his undoing.
Oh, it was 6 walks, 4 walks. You look at the game log; he'd walked at least 4 guys in like 4 or 5 starts out of like a span of 8.
I'm ready to win some people money right now with this next one because Ariel Jurado against David Hess. This one's in Texas. I think Jurado at 6.4 on DK is a secondary pitcher you can get in bed with today. I think he can. And look, the last start was really good. Baltimore is not great. It's at home. I think that Texas Ranger lineup will score enough. I think he's in play at 6.4, and I think that is a potential game changer because it's going to let you load up on DK on some offense that we're going to want later on in the game.
Okay.
How you like that? I'm going out on a limb, baby.
Listen, that's the number what you want. I mean, if you go
look,
Bauer,
you have a limited evening slate. We don't do Thursday a lot because it is kind of wacky. You have these isolation slates. But I will say this. On the weekend show, we shine with that. I don't think anybody does that better than you and I, Chris. And, I'm sorry. I just think that that's something we're really good with. And if we're isolating tonight and you want to go up to the board for Bauer, you could do that with Jurado. It allows you to do that, or it allows you to go up to Corbin, who we're going to talk about in a second here. And I think that you have to kind of take a stand here with the pitching tonight. And I think that's the stand I'm going to take personally.
I like it. You go one of the two. So if you go Bauer, Jurado, you have 4.2 on DK to work with. That's awesome. That's what you want. If you go Corbin, you have 4.1 to work with. So I agree. One of the two, I would go Corbin or Bauer. I'd completely just fade Barrios altogether. I mean, he hasn't missed a lot of bats lately too. He's given up some contact. So if you go one of the two, then it's like a stars and scrub type strategy, and then you can fill out the rest of your lineup wherever you want to go. I think you got to get some Texas bats in there against Hess. A fly ball pitcher, I think
100%. Well, that's where I'm going next.
About some lefties, yeah.
I think that's exactly what I think. Mazzara is very much in play, and you get that break. So for me, it's Chu, Andrews, Mazzara. I'll skip to Shields in there. If you want to have him, that's fine. If you want to have Andrews, Mazzara, Pence, I think that's fine too. They've done a pretty good job with Gallo out so far. I don't know how long it's going to last, but look, it's Baltimore. It's David Hess. Yeah. I'm going to take my shot on it. And I think your boy Lindor is in play tonight too.
Yeah. Oh, he should. Yeah, he should be for sure. I mean, his 6.3 team applied total is by far the highest in the late slate. There's no other teams at 5.
No.
Right? So, I mean, with the Yankees up there, at the top, rather 5.5 against Edwin. But yeah, I like that strategy a lot. These Texas bats, they're fairly cheap, especially on the FanDuel side. Odor should get back in the lineup. He didn't play yesterday against a lefty. He's been so awful this year. I wonder if he's going to get sent down in the minors, but he'll get in there against a right-handed fly ball pitcher in David Hess. So there's going to be some runs in that game.
I'll tell you what, on the FanDuel side, too, they're very cost-effective. Look, Delano Shields is 2.5, Andrews 3.9, Mazzara 3.8. Pence is the most expensive one at 4.2, believe it or not. Chu's only 4. Asdrubal Cabrera, who I love, 2, 3.7, and Odor's 2.8. So, look, there's all kinds of reason to get in bed with Texas tonight. And I'm not saying Jurado's your standalone pitcher on FanDuel.
No.
Tournament. I'm not going that far. But
you use him as a secondary.
The secondary guy tonight on DK, and I feel good about that. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But all I need him to do is get me that W.
Yeah, and guys, for Hess, a 41% hard hit rate, a 52% fly ball rate, an 83% contact rate. Those are all red flags. Those are all numbers that are in the top 10 and not in a good way. So the Rangers are not only going to be able to make contact, a lot of that's probably going to be in the air. The wind's blowing out to right now, 7 miles per hour. So I like that. As even in cash, I may even go that way with the Stars scrub and roll out Texas bats.
I like it. All right, now you've been talking about the Angels bats heating up a little bit. And this matchup is fascinating because you got on the FanDuel side, Skaggs at 8K against Fires. Now, obviously, Fires is not a guy we like to play at DFS, not a lot of strikeout potential and all that stuff. But I want to get your take on Skaggs because he kind of falls right into this mid-range, and there's not a lot of mid-range guys because it's a short slate tonight in the evening. So my question to you is Skaggs in play? Because I know there's times where you like to kind of throw that out there. Is he a standalone FanDuel tournament play tonight?
I don't think so. I think it's a little risky. I do like Skaggs, but in the right situations, like he has been pretty good this season. He's got 55
the last couple starts, man, he's got 7Ks, 7Ks, 8Ks.
Yeah, he's been good. But I mean, Texas is not a team that does well against lefties. Seattle is in a bit of a funk but that was a good start from it. My problem is just with Oakland, they don't strike out a lot. They make a lot of contact and. I mean, both of these teams. I mean, the Angels strike out the fewest, and the Athletics strike out the second fewest. Both of them make a lot of contact. So I think in a tournament, maybe I can.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is he the tournament? Is he the fade from the top guys because of the short slate? Skaggs, if he can go 6 innings, strike out 7 guys. Now, unfortunately, in those 3 starts where I talked about the 7-8 strikeouts every time, he's going 5 2/3 most of the time. He's not quite getting through. Only one time did he get through the 6th inning in the last 3.
Yeah.
But he isn't home. It's I don't know. I feel like sometimes when that I am feeling it. I'm feeling it tonight because of the circumstance. I'm not feeling it, when we have a full slate of night games. I'm feeling it in the circumstantial setting where I feel like he can do enough. So, yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just feeling my oats this morning. I don't know what it is, but I'm Ariel Uradoing tonight, and I'm Tyler Skaggsing tonight. It's gonna get wacky. There's gonna be some whiskey involved. I can tell you that right now.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with it, obviously. He has to.
You did say if there's something wrong with it. We've been friends long enough. You could take me.
No, I would. I mean, I already told you what I thought about. They just make a lot of contact. They don't strike out a lot. That's the only thing. But I mean, on a slate like this, you're right. On FanDuel as a one pitcher, me personally, I'd rather just go Corbin or Bauer up at the top, roll that way, because there's so much value on FanDuel where you don't need to get totally cute with your lineup. But if you want to just get a guy who's going to be low owned, I mean, that's the way to go. It is Skaggs. I mean, he's got more upside than Fires, than Hess, than Jackson across the board. I mean, Lucchesi, do you want to go Lucchesi against Washington? It's tough because he's got to go up against Patrick Corbin.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't love a whole lot of these pitching matchups tonight. I think Bauer, we talk about Barrow Urado or Corbin Urado as the pairing on DK. If you want to just be chalky and be safe and play cash games tonight with Corbin on FanDuel standalone, he's 10-9. He's super expensive, but it's fine. I got no issue with that. Bauer's 10-4, so basically you could just interchange the pitchers and do multi-entry that way if you want to do also. But I don't know, man. I feel like you gotta kind of pick a side. You gotta take a stand. And I'm gonna take a stand with Tyler Skaggs, and I'm gonna take a stand with Urado. I think those 2 guys contribute tonight. I'm gonna stay with the home guys and figure that out. Now let's get to this Washington game a little bit. So Corbin, 10.9 on FanDuel. On the DraftKings side, Patrick Corbin is 10.3, so not much of a discount there at all. Lucchese's 9. Yeah, sure, there's potential contrarian plays there with Lucchesi, but I'm going to fade away from it tonight personally. It's just, I don't know. It's just I have more confidence in Corbin in this one, especially the way San Diego's been striking out. So for me, that's my take on this one. What's your take on this Nationals Padres game?
Yeah, I like Corbin too. I mean, a league high 27% strikeout rate, even higher against lefties. So they have a couple guys in their lineup that can hit lefties. Like obviously Machado can, and Renfroe has some power against lefties too. But he also has, a lot of swing and misses in his game as well. So I like Corbin. I mean, both of these 3.8 team applied total either way. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of runs scored in here. So I think Corbin is probably my favorite play. You have talked me into Bauer. I really like that contrarian side with Trevor Bauer. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I think, Corbin for cash, like on FanDuel, again, you can do it. You can easily make it happen, 10-9, and then you have $3,000 to spend the rest of your lineup. It doesn't seem like a lot, but I want to get a piece of Texas, which you can make happen by like Odor, we already talked about Mazzaro. Those are guys that are cheap. I want to get a piece of the Angels too. Like I want to get Shohei Ohtani in there, 3 home runs in his last 5 games. Mike Trout, even La Stella off the top of the lineup. I mean, Fires has allowed 12 home runs in his last 10 starts. I mean, he's allowed 13 on the year. He's a fly ball pitcher. So I think spending up and then getting some of these bats, you can do it in cash. You want to get a little bit different. I think I think I can get on board with Skaggs and Trevor Bauer as contrarian options.
Yeah, I think tonight's a little strange. That's what you do, and you just gotta get a little weird. I think tonight. I think that's what's gonna get you some money. I really do. If you just want to be safe, it's fine. I think you can do that too. And look, I'm not saying Barrios is the wrong play. It's hard because the guy's super talented, but trend-wise, I just think Bauer and the Indians right now are a better trend despite the black cloud hanging over them. It just seems like the offense is waking up a little bit, which is good. I don't expect them to go anywhere, but this is just one night. That's what DFS is all about. So take me through the betting lines tonight, Chris. What do you see on the board that you like, that you want to get involved in?
Yeah, okay, so we'll start up at the top. I do believe the Braves will bounce back against Chris Archer. There could be a lot of runs scored in that game. Fultonevich has not been good, so if you want to take the over, you can. It has jumped from 9 to 9.5, over that half hour that we've actually talked. I have it written down here as 9. Interesting.
Get on it now before it keeps going.
Get on it now. I like the Red Sox on the road. I did like Cincinnati yesterday, so I'm gonna go back to Cincinnati. I think there's gonna be some runs scored in that game, 8.5 with Desclafani and Hudson on the hill. Continuing to move down the board here. Houston, I think you can take them by 2 with Justin Verlander on the hill against Tommy Malone. I like the over in the Yankees and the Jays game. I actually like the under in the Cleveland, Minnesota. I mean, Bauer and Barrios over under at 8.5. I think both could have games. The over in Texas and Baltimore, but give me the Rangers, like the Angels at home and the Nats on the road.
All right, it's time to call our shot here on the program, as we always like to do. Pick a guy who's going to go yard. Now, look, we were red hot. We've cooled off. We had a 10-day span there where we were just it was out of control. We were kind of like Joe DiMaggio, just on a streak, just every day, just sometimes 2, at least 1. Like I said, we had way more days where we had at least where we had 2 than we had 0, which was unbelievable. So now it comes to that point we got to kind of get back on track. We had a rough couple days here. It's time to get back on track. I'm going to get back on track with Vlad Guerrero Jr. at home. He's a great value. I think he's going to go yard against Happ, who gives up a ton of home runs. Like him in the ballpark. Everything about this screams dinger for Vladdy Jr. Where are you going, Chris, for your home run tonight? Where are you calling your shot?
Yeah, if you want, the home runs are going to come from Toronto, New York, and Texas and Baltimore. But you know what? To get back on track, let's go with the best player in the world who we've yet to even talk about as a home run call. Mike Trout. Let's go with Mike Trout. He's heating up. Yes. He's got some home runs in the past few games, and it really is a treat. I feel bad for the people on the East Coast who don't get to see Mike Trout play baseball.
I feel bad for me because I love Mike Trout. He's a Jersey guy. I want to see him play, and I feel like that's it's one of those identity crisis of baseball too, where their best player is playing in. He's not even playing for the Dodgers in Los Angeles.
Right, yeah. Mike Trout walking 22% of the time. Unbelievable stuff. But I think he'll take Mike Fiers deep tonight, and I think you'll see some home runs in that game.
Yeah, Fiers another guy who gives up a ton of home runs too. So if Fiers and Ohtani go yard, that would not shock me at all. If Trout and Ohtani go yard against Fiers, that would not shock me at all. So, look, this is a great opportunity there. And just to recap everything for you, I'm taking a stand on Skaggs in tournaments on FanDuel standalone only. I am taking Jurado and pairing him with Bauer or Corbin. You can do either one. You can interchange them. We talked about that Texas offense. We talked about getting shares of that game for the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Look, it's going to be a lot of runs here. Edwin Jackson shows up to town, and then Jay Happ says, hold my beer. It's going to be a fun time for sure. So that's us for today. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at LineStar App, at Joe Pisapia 17, and at Chris Meaney, of course. And check out the new Fantasy Football Black Book 2019.
Yes.
Got DFS chapter in there, football from Chris Meaney. And hopefully we'll be here doing shows for you come football season 2. And we're going to be your one-stop shop for all things DFS, baseball, football. I don't know about hockey. That's kind of out of my depth. But, we're going to be out here doing it. And make sure you download that LineStar app while you're out there getting the job done. That'll do it for us. We'll be back again tomorrow because that's what we do. And there's only one thing left to do, and that's step out of the on-deck circle and into the batter's box and go yard. We'll see you next time, kids.
You've been listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar. Hit subscribe, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next episode from fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.